Well, when it comes to Paul and giving instructions to husband and wives, we seem to hear a whole lot about what he had to say to wives. But what was it that he told husbands? I'm Michael, the Bible Rethinker, and it's time to rethink. I'm so glad you're here to watch this video today. We're going to talk about what Paul said husbands should do toward their wives. At the same time, I'm releasing a video that is focused on instructions for wives toward their husbands. And these videos are intended to kind of work together. And I hope that after you watch this video, if you haven't already, that you will watch that video concerning wives and how they should relate to their husbands. But let's jump into what Paul instructs here. He starts this section by saying that we're all supposed to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. So I want you to be well aware right from the start that the instruction to submit is not specifically just for wives, it's for all of us, and that includes husbands as well. One more thing I want to point out about that is that while wives are instructed to submit themselves as to the Lord, we are never told as husbands to do anything to enforce that admonition upon our wives. In other words, wives need to learn that themselves. That is not the job of husbands to teach them. Let them figure it out themselves. Because if you're forcing them to submit, they're no longer voluntarily submitting like Paul instructed them. You're rather subduing them. And the instructions aren't to subdue your wives or for your wives to be subjugated. But let's get into what Paul had to say for husbands. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Fundamentally, husbands are instructed to love their wives, not lord over them, not tell them what to do, but to have an interest in their well-being, in figuring out ways to support your wife, to empower her to be the best woman she can possibly be. Do you see what husbands are compared to here? We're called to love our wives in the way that Christ loved the church. And what did Christ do for the church? He laid down his life for the church. Our outlook toward our wives should be a willingness to do anything we possibly can to express love toward them. Laying down our own ambitions, laying down our own selfishness, doing whatever we can to empower our wives. Now, I'm not saying we need to live a life where our wives are ordering us around all the time. That's not what I mean, but we do need to be in active communication with them and seek to meet their needs and seek to empower them to achieve what God has given them to do. Paul goes on to compare the love of a husband and wife to the love of Christ and his church by saying this: He gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. Our goal as a husband should be to empower our wives to live godly lives. Paul goes on to say this: in the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and care for their body, just as Christ does the church, for we are members of his body. Plutarch, an ancient contemporary of Paul, a Greek philosopher, thought of marriage like this, that the wife was like the body, and the husband was the soul within the body. But in Greek thought, bodies were inferior and the soul was superior. And so, in much Greek thinking in the days of Paul, men were superior to women. That was the thinking at the time. But Paul overturned that expectation. He inverted Greek thinking about husbands and wives when he emphasized that a husband should be willing to do anything for his wife in service to her, that she is apparently not inferior, or the husband would not act in that way. Only if the husband sees the wife as an equal would he be willing to give of himself so much to his wife. Paul went on to say this: for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Again, for Plutarch, the man was the part that had greater value. The woman was the part that was inferior. But to Paul, one flesh is created out of the two. And that can only be true if they are both equal, husband and wife. Paul goes on to say this: this is a profound mystery, but I am talking about Christ and the church. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Your job as a husband is not to make your wife submit to you. Your job as a husband is to love and care for your wife. Now, you may object and say, well, wait a minute though, but didn't Paul say the husband is the head of the wife? Doesn't that mean that the husband is supposed to be in charge? But that's not what Paul means in his metaphor regarding the head. The head for Paul was the source of provision for the body. The head's job is to care for the body, not to order the body around. So that again is why Paul talks about how the head cares for, cleanses, washes, takes care of the body. And so we mean head as in the source of provision, of caring for our wife. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope you'll hit the subscribe button, and please visit my website at www.thebiblerethinker.org. And please share your thoughts. How would you nuance this differently than me? Or how do you agree with what I'm saying? I look forward to reading your comments below.